Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos. I assume we're doing how to effectively market a listing because
Yes, the others are
the
still
other one
works in
the
progress.
other ones are empty. So I was like, oh well, process of elimination. This is what we're doing today.
Yes, the others, I've started, but I never put them in here until it's finished. And so they're
Mm-hmm.
started somewhere else, but I was like, this is the one that is the most polished this week. And I think something that is very relatable right now because I don't know about you, but I have listings that in my opinion, should have been gone by now and they're not moving. So
Same.
some of
I've
these,
got new construction that's sitting, which is
right.
almost unheard of.
Well, and even I had a client or I had a conversation with my client yesterday because we went over to move a couple things to make it look a little different. And she even agreed. She's like, we're not dropping the price. It's priced perfectly. Like, I've been watching what's selling. She's like, I don't understand. And I was like, yeah. And all the feedback we're getting is personal preference. Like, they don't like
Mm-hmm.
the floor plan or they don't like the backyard has a slight slope to it. It's like there's nothing we can do about that. That's
Right.
personal preference. So I think this is a very appropriate topic for the current market.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
I
you
think that
ready?
it's only gonna get more involved in this because we're assuming we're gonna see more buyers coming into the market because the potential rate drops in the future. So you want to make sure that you're standing out and doing everything that you can on your seller's behalf because you don't want to just have a market that's sitting and still not do anything about it. Like both of us right now have listings that are sitting, but it's not because we're not
Right.
putting our best foot forward here. It's just we haven't found the match for that particular property.
Well, and I saw a realtor the other day who made a video on Facebook or something, and she made a very good point. And she said, when you're interviewing a realtor, you need to make sure, are they going to list your home or are they going to sell your home? And there's a big difference because someone who's just listing your home is going to put it in MLS and hope people show up. Someone who's going to sell your home is going to do their job, put it in MLS, maybe do some of these ideas, go above and beyond, host the open houses, put it in the realtor Facebook groups to move that house. So these ideas are going to help you sell a home, not just list a home.
All right, you
Um,
want to kick us off this morning?
yeah, this one, the first one is interesting. I've never done this, and I'll be honest, you could do it with a Matterhorn or something like that, but I also think there's probably other companies out there that will make an actual virtual reality. But it's to do a virtual reality tour or an interactive floor plan for your listing. So this, when people see it online, or in an advertisement somewhere, they actually feel like they're in the house and they can walk through it. It allows them to explore the house in detail. So, like for my listing that's sitting, they would know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I put the floor plan in MLS. It's even in the photos, so when they see it on Zillow. But this way, they can walk through it and feel what that floor plan feels like in person, or virtually. It also allows them to, like, you can put pop up information. So when they're in a room, you could have it pop up to say, oh, kitchen has new appliances in 2020, new cupboards, new flooring, whatever, so that they get that information right then. So they go, oh, wait, so we're not going to have to do anything. And all those appliances should be under warranty. So that's one less thing for us to worry about if we buy this house. I think it's a great idea. I don't know how to do it personally, but I know there's companies out there like Matterhorn, things like that, that you can. I wonder if Box Brownie does it. Um,
I don't think Box Brownie does it. So my most of the photographers that I use and where I am in Hickory, Robin is my go-to girl. She's fantastic. But she does these and she does them at the same time that she does a floor plan for me. So we're supposed to have floor plans, measurements, all that good stuff, all that information. And it's not that much more money because it's the same system that she uses to draw out the floor plans, but she's including the video footage behind it. So I do those, and I do like it because you can click through. There's usually little like puddles. It looks like a puddle on the floor, and you can click and move forward, and you can spin around, and it's so helpful. So for me, last week I had 3 buyer consultations, and 2 of them are out of state people that are moving to North Carolina. So after we wrap the podcast this morning, I'm actually headed out on virtual tours
Nice.
for clients that are moving to North Carolina. And I cannot tell you how helpful these are for people because they're looking at pictures, and we all know pictures can be deceiving. So if it's easy for you to take an hour and a half out of your day to go look at that house and say, oh, well, no, that's not exactly how I was picturing it based on the flow of photos on the MLS, being able to kind of click through and get that kind of like, I don't know, vibey feel of how the property actually works is really priceless, especially with clients that are literally coming in blind. They're moving from out of state. They're not planning to come here in advance. Like this is like a literally coming in blind. So, I go out on virtual tours to try to do that, to give them that feeling. So, having those available for clients, I think it's going to drive your internet traction. You'll be able to reach more people outside of, for us, North Carolina. Um, and honestly, they're just cool.
Yeah, they are. They are really cool. And my photographer does them. I've never done one because I've I don't know why. I just haven't. But he owes me because his drone was broken.
Oh no.
His drone got attacked by a bird. Like an eagle literally attacked his drone one day. He was like, "I'm sorry, I can't do it, but if you need me to come back." So I might call him and be like, "Hey, because I do have a listing that's sitting. Like, can you do a Matterhorn on this one? Like, I know it's a tiny little house, but I think this would help move things."
Yeah.
Um, okay. Do you want to do the next one?
Storytelling through video. Well, I am a storyteller, and I enjoy doing it with photographs as well. And this is for social media, of course. But you're going to want, a lot of people will do a video tour of the property. If you can dive in a little bit, even just a tiny bit deeper, and make it a little more personal, right? So you're going to be featured in the video as well. Talk about the specific unique features that it's offering. If it's in a neighborhood, talk about the community building. Talk about that there's 3 pools located across the span of the community, that there's a playground that's 2 streets down on the left. Those things that are going to speak to a potential buyer. They're like, "Oh, wow, that would be great. If I live here, we can just walk around the corner and the kids can play on the playground while I get some work done." And I think it's another way to get people really involved in your listings. So whether or not somebody's purchasing a house, these kinds of videos and this kind of interaction on social media is what's getting conversations started, right? And that's what's going to increase those views, increase the number of potential buyers that you're reaching, while showing your seller that you're not just slapping a video to slap a video out there, that you're kind of highlighting the most important aspects that they love about their home. And one of the easiest ways that you can do that is to actually ask them, what do you love about your home or your neighborhood, right? You've never lived there as the listing agent. You can go through and say, oh, wow, like I love this countertop. I love the double island feature, things like that. But ask your seller what they love about this home. And it can be a short list. Sometimes it can be a long list, but pick out of
Right.
that. And that way it's just, I don't know, it's incorporating them in the process. They feel really involved, and they can feel confident that someone else is going to come in loving their property for some of the same reasons that they have for so many years.
Well, I also think it shows that you care.
Mhm.
Like you are not here just to sell a house for them. Like this is building a relationship. I also love the other idea in this category of maybe not partnering with local influencers. I think that depends on the price point in the neighborhood and things like that. But a social media campaign, getting the neighborhood involved. Like, so the way I would do that is like if we're talking about video, in the video for the listing, I would incorporate what I love about that town. Like, hey, you're 2 miles from my favorite coffee shop. Or every Friday night, this little small town has a concert in the park, things like that. And then, but put it back on the community and create like a hashtag or something to say, hey, what's your favorite part? Send us a picture, send us a video. Like, what's your favorite part of living in this neighborhood? And use this hashtag so that it drums up interest and following to that property. I love that idea.
Yeah, like a call to action kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
here's what I love, XYZ. If you live in Mallard Lakes or Moore's Ferry, or, what do you do on a Friday night?
right.
Something
Yeah.
easy and not like, I don't know. Sometimes sometimes those things are so easy to get involved in, and others you're like, I could answer it. Like I know what I would answer, but I'm not gonna answer it. I'm guilty. I do that. I'm like, oh, I totally could tell them, but I'm not going to.
Well, I think that's where we can also pull in some of the other ideas we've talked about for farming and prospecting. Put a prize on the line.
Hmm.
Get a local business to offer, or a couple local businesses. Put together like a local business, uh, like gift pack, like a gift basket, or be like, hey, everyone who enters an idea, you get 1 point for a photo, 2 points for a video, and whoever has the most points gets this prize or something like that, so that you encourage participation from the community. So they're not just like, oh, they're asking me to do your job for them. No, like, we want you to participate, and here's something we're going to give back. You could, even if you don't want to do a prize, you could say, for every person that participates, we're going to donate a certain amount to a local community group, something to encourage that interaction.
Hmm.
Okay, this one's my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. I i remember getting the idea watching Selling Sunset on Netflix,
Yeah.
and one of my least favorite characters, but she's so dramatic, Christine, did a Botox and burgers open house, and I was like, that's genius. Obviously a much different price point than the listings I normally have, but that doesn't mean you can't do something like that. What if you did a mom's day out? Like, get them, they make it specific to them. Even if they're not interested in buying the house, it gets them in the door so that they see it, and then they start thinking, wait, who do I know? Because they know someone. They always know someone. Um, you could, like, if you wanted to go on the Super Bowl thing or the sports theme again, do it like, here we have the Carolina Panthers. I did one once that was away game day, and we watched the away game at the open house. Like, I scheduled it during game time and had all sorts of snacks and beers and things like that. Again, that's going to get people in there who wouldn't normally be interested, and is going to introduce you to them. And they may know someone that you don't know, or may suddenly be like, oh, no, we do want a new house. I think doing themed open houses or turning it into some type of event definitely draws in a crowd that will be maybe different than your normal open house crowd, but it's also going to get more people in the door. And more people is always better, because you never know who they know. They may change their mind and suddenly realize, oh, we do love this house. Like, I put a video of my open house on Facebook the other day, and she was like, we love this house. It's just not where financially we're ready yet. So now we're talking about the, like, where they are, what we could get them into. Um, but I just love parties and themed parties. And so I love themed open houses. I think they're fun.
One that I did a few years ago was muffins and mimosas. I loved that one. That one was great. But I think that that is a great idea to be able to drive more traffic, because their open houses, as a rule, are so hit or miss. They really, honestly
Yep.
are. Depends on the weather, depends on the time. It depends. So many factors go into an open house. One thing that I did last year that actually worked out really well. I had a VIP hour. So, what I did, this was in it's a really popular community in Hickory. And what I did was door knocked the week before, left flyers for a VIP hour. And what that is it's neighbors only. So they can come to the property. Say I was advertising 1 to 3, so from 12 to 1 was my VIPs, and whoever came in during that time had we had a separate giveaway with my lender partner for them and things like that. And it's just like you've got the, like you said, like nosy Nellies. They just want to see the inside of the house. They're never going to buy the house, but we did actually have two connections from that VIP hour that led to showings. So he didn't actually close with either of those buyers, but they may never have come to look at that community
Right.
had their friend not like FaceTimed them through the house while they were there.
Right. Exactly. Like you never know who they know or who they will think of while they're there. Um, I think the more people you can get in, the better. And I
Yeah,
like
and I
that
think as
VIP
long as
idea. I'm
you're
gonna have to do that some like especially if it's a tight knit neighborhood, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so this neighborhood specifically is one that you can move up, move down in. So they have price points from 500 to 2 million in there, all within that neighborhood. So you've got families that their kids are growing up, but they want to stay in the neighborhood, or they don't need that 5 bedroom house anymore, and they're looking to go back to a three. It was a great way to do that for sure. And as far as like having a theme and just be open with your sellers about it, have a conversation with them. Don't just like, I mean, show up with chicken wings and beer and turn the game on for sure. But
Right.
like I feel like most of those people, especially if they see that you're going out of the box and out of your way to make an open house successful and not just like, yeah, I'm going to come camp on your couch for 2 hours. If somebody shows up, great. If not, well, we tried kind of thing. It's just another way to stand out and be different.
Yep. For sure. And like you said, make sure you're interacting with your audience before you host this. Because if you don't, they won't know.
Mhm.
Unless they happen to be looking like the open house I did the other day. I projected to my audience for a couple days beforehand, and it helped get my people in. But everyone else who came who wasn't already on my social media
Mhm.
was working as a realtor, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
like that's great because it wasn't.
Right.
And for to clarify, it wasn't for my listing. I was doing it for another agent. So, um,
This next one, I think, and I'm gonna pop in an idea here, and I don't think it's the route that you were going with it,
no,
but
hey, go for it.
neighborhood partnership events. And this is something that I was working on actually recently. So two of my new construction listings are side by side on the same street, right? But it's a really popular area for new construction, and we're not talking like big builder new construction. It's like small. They built one house, maybe two houses, kind of thing. Do a tour of homes. If you're this is just another operation opportunity. This is another opportunity for you to communicate and network with other agents in your market as well. So even if they're not all your listings, like if you're in a neighborhood and there are 6 houses for sale at varying price points, get in touch with those listing agents and say, "Hey, do we have people? Can we make it a thing for Saturday from 11 to 4 that we are doing a tour of homes in this neighborhood?" Um, and how you can do that, you can make that into a game, right? Like your travel card, you get a punch card, you go to every open house, and then you get entered to win a $100 visa or a $200 visa, depending on how many houses you have there. People are going to go to those houses. Communicate with each other. If you've got buyers that come in and they're like, "Oh, well, I really don't like that the primary bedroom's upstairs." Well, you know what? Over on Elm Street, the primary is actually on the first floor. You should stop there next and talk to Lisa with XYZ Realty. She's over there with an open house right now. Um, it just really it really I think could move some houses. I tried to get one set up, but unfortunately the other houses went under contract much
Oh, bummer.
faster. So we didn't end up doing that one. But it's a great way to support your other agents. Hopefully, a give and take. If they've got people coming to their open house, they're sending them your way. And if you're partnering with other agents, giving away $100 gift card or a $200 gift card isn't that big of a deal because it's split. So
Yep.
just an opportunity. And that's just bringing more interest to the neighborhood, to your listing, to their listing. Maybe you get a buyer not for your listing, but for the one across the street. So, just a really good
I
idea
love
to do that.
I love that idea because a lot of times, like one of my go tos at an open house is I already have other listings in the area pulled up that have similar criteria. Like, oh, this one doesn't work for you. Well, I'm done here at 2. Do you want to see if we could get a 2:30 showing scheduled for this, and I'll take you over to see that one. But this takes the work, like that extra step, kind of out of it. Hey, this one's available, and by the way, they're also hosting an open house right now. What's your number? I'll text them, let them know you're on the way, and then let me know what you think about it. afterwards. Like it's a
Right.
great way to already, if they're, even if they're represented, to just show that you're taking that extra effort of, hey, this one's open today too. And it's very, I love that idea.
Yep.
Love, love, love it. Um, okay, the next one is showing the before and after transformation. So if you have a property that like has, I don't want to say flipped because I think flipped has a negative connotation to it sometime, but has been renovated and updated. Well, not a
She had her makeover, you know?
right, not just slapping another coat of paint on a bad foundation. Um, but show the before and after. Show the craftsmanship. There's a house in my neighborhood or the neighborhood next to me that is a historical neighborhood. And that's part of the listing, like because the price point jumped significantly on this house. But in the listing, they show, hey, this is what it used to be, and here's what we've done with it. And it's gorgeous. I actually need to see if that's still listed. But you can share it through social media. You can put it in the listing. You could, if you're CRM or if you're crafty with websites, start a blog with a personalized website for that property, especially if you're like if you're doing the storytelling and you're the person doing the flip or you know the person doing it, get involved before they're ready to list and
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'll help you promote this now. Let's start a blog about the progress of this." Like Brenna, you're flipping a property right now, and I think you're doing a very good job of this. The other day, you posted like the pretty parts because you were picking out paint and tiles, I think. I think that's a great way to show, hey, here's the progress, here's the good work we're doing. And it helps you justify the increased price point when you're relisting this. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times people are like, it just sold for this. And I'm like, yeah, but it didn't look like this when it
Yeah,
sold for that. So,
exactly, exactly. Especially in, like you said, in a neighborhood or a price point that it's jumping significantly, you really need to have something to fall back on and say, "But this is why. This is what we did." And as far as our flips go, we already have like I have people that reach out and they're like, "What part of Statesville is this in? Like, when is it going to be ready? What's your timeline? Where do you think the price is going to be?" That kind of thing, because it builds excitement, it builds anticipation. And nothing I've posted has been like the whole house, like, anything. It's just parts and pieces, different, like you said, paint swatches, tile that's going into the bathroom this week, things like that. And it's like I enjoy doing it because I get so excited, especially about the pretty part. My husband does all of the other stuff, but
right.
as
The
far as
structural
putting the
parts.
yeah, as far as putting the pieces together and telling him what people like in a house and it's not, brush nickel hardware anymore, Travis. I love that you were born in the 1980s, but honey, no.
My house, it's funny you say that. My house is all brushed nickel still. And I was at Lowe's the other day getting stuff to fix something. And I was like looking at all the hardware. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm
What
ready
it,
to
it
go
just
through this
it's
house
so
room by room
funny.
and make it a home.
I was looking at my kitchen cabinets and they have brushed nickel hardware and I was like, it would look so different with
Yeah.
just
Or gold. I
black
really love
hardware.
gold. I
My
want to
cabinets
do,
will not support a gold. Mm-mm. It's like
well,
this weird,
so,
weird wood color.
um, I caught, look, I was looking at my cabinets the other day without the lights on. And I think I ruined them. So I might be doing new cabinets soon too. Like they have what looks like bleach stains down them. And I'm like, oh God. I used a
Oh no.
different cleaner and I think it messed them up. So um that would be the first hurdle. But yes, the hardware. But that's the little things like telling that story of, okay, here's why we're doing this or here's what we're doing, which you could even put out there like if you're doing the whole process of this or that, vote for what you think would look better. It doesn't mean you have to follow it,
Right.
but it's going to
Mm-hmm.
give you that interaction. And I think that's a great idea. Especially share the inspection process. If everything's being done to code with permits, share what that's like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not fun.
No, it's not fun. I think also even before like you have the listing active, there's marketing and stuff that can go into it. So I was just thinking this week, I have a listing that'll be coming soon here locally in town. And I've been out there a couple times. It's a situation that they just want the house gone. You know what I mean? It's not a they're not sad to lose the house. They're ready for their next step. And but when I went over there, They have a beautiful wooded lot. Okay, this is just a quick example. Beautiful wooded lot. But what comes with a beautiful wooded lot when the house has been empty for a couple of months is 580 million bajillion leaves,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The house is cute as a button, but you can't see it because the whole front yard, all you see when you pull in is the leaves.
Yep.
They are just the star of the show. So I think effective marketing starts before you go active. When you can go in and have an honest conversation and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's what I see. Here's what buyers are going to see when they come in. They're like, oh gosh, it's going to take us a week to get all these leaves out of here. And it's not, but a buyer issue, if a buyer sees it, take what you think it'll take for time or money and times it by like five, because that's what a buyer's seeing.
Yep.
So whether it's repainting or upgrading fixtures or swapping out knobs from brushed nickel to black or gold, those kinds of things, they're like, oh, time and money, and it's still costing me XYZ to get this house. So if you can take a couple of extra days, a few extra dollars, put some sweat equity into it, and really present that house in its very best light as soon as it goes on the market, that's great. Because the other thing that we could have done is put it on the market 2 weeks ago, had feedback that, oh, the yard just doesn't look put together. It just looks like a lot of work. Like there's a railing that needs to be replaced on the back porch. Like those things that they could have done after an inspection or after a due diligence request. Instead, we're taking the time to step back and get those things buttoned up so we don't have to the only excuse or the only objection I want to handle um when we have buyers coming in, and was in one of our trainings, is the price. I don't want to talk about that you don't think that the fixtures are great or that the yard needs to be cleaned. I just want to talk to you about price.
Right.
So setting them up for success and me up for success, because I will be able to better market it once it's active, being completely prepped and ready.
Yes, I love it. So, my bonus idea. I love this one. You know where I got this idea? Other than it's something that I cruise through the Syracuse paper still every week for.
Yeah,
Um,
a newspaper. Who reads the
right?
newspaper
Who
anymore,
reads a
Alyssa?
newspaper? Me. Um, but the Syracuse paper does a property of the week or listing of the week or something like that. And it's always like a gem. It's always usually the most expensive. They tell the story of like the people who are selling it, like what's going on. Did they buy it in the 90s for their family and, remodeled the barn and turned it into like all of it. It's great. So if your local newspaper does something like that, I don't think you have to pay for it. I think it's a feature they do. Um find out how you can get it in there. And you know how I got this or remembered this idea other than that I'm looking at it? Was your Facebook last week full of Christian McCaffrey's house?
Yes, it was.
Yes. So Christian McCaffrey, if you're unaware of who he is a former Panthers football player. He now plays for the San Francisco 49ers, which is going to make cheering for the Super Bowl very hard in this town because we also love the Kelsey brothers.
The Kelsey
Um,
brothers.
but he has his house on Lake Norman list. I think it's like 9.7 or something $1 million. But last week, one of the local like news blogs, I think it was Axios, did an article about it. And the next thing I knew, everyone and their brother was posting that article on social media, whether
Yep.
they work in real estate or not. Everyone was like, "Oh, I want to see it. I want to buy it. We wish Christian was still here." All these things. Like, so if you can get your listing in one of those, or like if it's a historic property, there's a Facebook page called Beautiful Old Houses or something like that.
Mhm.
If you want to know what it is, send me a DM and I'll send you the link to it. But they highlight like historic homes that are for sale that are still very well maintained. My favorite thing is to find the ones like from my home area or the ones local to here. I repost that. So if you can get your listing, find a reason, it doesn't have to be the fanciest. Maybe it's Zillow gone wild. Maybe you have the crazy listing but it's still going to push it to an audience outside your normal audience. So
Mhm.
if you can get it into something like that, I highly recommend it. But I also just avoid the comments. It's like being a celebrity. It's like when you touch a nerve on TikTok like I did last week. Just ignore the haters. Don't respond, don't delete them. Just ignore it.
Do not
But
engage.
yeah, do not engage. Even if it will help your algorithm, just don't. But I think that's a great way to bring attention you wouldn't normally get to one of your listings.
Yep. And say that's all it is. And one of the things that I tell my sellers is when I go, and this kind of goes back to, are we going to sell your property or list your property? I'll tell them it does me no good to list your house. I get no, it actually costs me money out of my pocket to list your house. The
Yep.
only thing that makes me money is when I sell your house. When I have you at the closing table and you give your keys to somebody else, that's when I get paid. Until then, this does nothing but cost me money if I'm doing my job correctly and effectively marketing and putting your property out there. So I think that it's important that we put our best foot forward and I show your property to the best of my ability because it only takes one buyer. We don't need 100 people to buy your house. I need one, but it is my responsibility to make sure that that one buyer has the opportunity to see your house.
Right. Yep.
That's my mic drop moment.
Mic drop. Dropping bombs over here.
Um,
All right. Well, those are our 5 plus a bonus tip on how to mark creative ideas to market a listing. We would love to hear if you have other ideas. Maybe there's something we haven't thought of or that you're like, duh, girls. Send us a DM on our social medias. Send us an email, contractsandchaos@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.
Next week. All right. Bye, guys. We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.